What's happened so far? Well, this battle has been swinging back and forth. This has not been some sort of inexorable march to victory by Marlborough. Nearwinden felt more staid and stable throughout the length of the battle. This one, perhaps mainly because the openness and width of this one wing has really had a lot of chaos involved. It seems like every other turn, I think a different side is going to win. Anyway, let's take a look at what our situations are. We have 2 more turns left. That's it, 40 minutes. Over here, the Allies have broken through. I don't think that they have enough time to finish off all 3 brigades that remain. One of them is only 1 unit, but and can be pushed off the map and destroyed fairly easily. That's in dress ranks. Fink is in charge. Fink in charge. So yeah, that probably, if there was more battle, this would collapse. Moving over here, this has settled down to a static line. Cav facing defensive infantry. The French aren't going anywhere. That Cav's not going to be able to break them. The Allies have thrown a lot of resources into there, but 3 small infantry brigades are just holding them in place. It's really hard for Cav to push formed infantry back. Let's skip Oberglau for now and go over here. This had been static for a long time. Now Wilke has broken into the swamp and is pushing down. It looks like if there was a lot of game left, the Allies could actually take Blenheim. But there's still way too much force. The Allies have a fairly large reserve there, but the French have 4 brigades in relatively good size. They're not going anywhere, even though they've finally lost some ground. What it looked like it was going to be decisive, if anything, was this Hochstadt plain. This was where historically Marlborough collapsed the French army. The French lines are very thin, but they had pushed the Allies into a little clump, and now they're fighting their way out of it, especially over here, although the French have pushed even further here. This would probably collapse into a victory for one side or the other, and at this point I think it's an Allied victory just because of the sheer numbers. The French army just doesn't have enough to reserve. But, again, there ain't enough time. And now to Oberglau. The one place that could not fall because the wing, you know, it was a hard point in the front, and it was facing an all-cavalry wing by the Allies. And that's not going to do anything. With a river to cross, well, a stream. This has been the backwater all game, but as the Allies pushed down in this direction, and then the French pushed forward, throwing them back here, this became more and more at risk. And brigades that were here got siphoned off into other sectors. So there's 1 brigade holding this in Oberglau, and it is surrounded, basically. I mean, on 2 sides at least. Maybe 3 out of 4, because there is a possibility that this Cav might still charge. That's a risky move, because if I fuck up, if I get a bad die roll with a charge from them, if I get a 9 on, and a unit gets destroyed, and then I get a 9 on the unit route, that wing collapses for the Allies. So that's sort of a last chance unless I can get another brigade to back that up. I don't know what happens if there's like a brigade en route, but that may just be Wood's job, is to get himself over there so that I can launch an attack from that, because Wood is doing nothing right now. He's just sitting way back there. Yeah, that's about it. It has been really exciting. I'll say that. Nearwinden felt like kind of a snooze fest in a lot of ways. I was enjoying playing the system and learning how things worked, and fucking up all over the place. But the defensive position that the Allies were in Neerwinden was just too strong for the French to really break through all at once the way it feels like can happen here. But on the other hand, the numerical advantage the French had more or less assured that they were going to eventually grind the Allies down. Question in that one is, could the Allies have held out to the end of time, with what they were holding? And their position was beginning to fall apart. It looked early on like they could just hold, but eventually you get some bad die rolls, eventually something cracks, and then things start to turn ugly relatively quickly. The only thing is, the game has enough luck in it. The combat tables are very swingy. The morale check on a per brigade basis for routing an entire brigade is exceedingly swingy. So you can get huge reversals happening throughout the game. Saw a lot more of that here though, and it's been pretty damn exciting. If you could just like take my intros or whatever, you would see how the game like flooded together. It would be kind of an interesting exercise, is just to paste together sort of the narrative on a turn-by-turn basis. I'm just not willing to put that effort in, but it would be an exciting story, I'll say that.
Now it's Wednesday morning around 9.
Loading up. I hadn't checked to see if it's loaded, and if I should put it on BGG, the previous version, or the previous video of this. This should be the last one. Got a little bit of yard work done. Less than I would like to, but my body gives out pretty quickly nowadays. I mean, it's just, I think I'm just out of shape. I don't think it's the long COVID, but it's hard to tell. It had been at other times. But I'm definitely out of shape as well. And here we are at the 6 p.m. turn, ready to fire the artillery off. And one of the things I noted is, got an issue, a couple of these artillery here. If I limber them, they won't get to move or anything. Next turn they'll get to move or unlimber. And they won't get any fire opportunities beyond that. So pretty much all artillery must fire at this point. The fact that this game doesn't take actual casualties into mind, I complained about this during Neerwinden as well. It's a disturbing facet. Like, one part of me wants to just know them, but one part of, beyond the, hey, who won the battle, I want to understand not just who won, but what the costs were and whatnot. Not necessarily a victory point association, but something that gives me an idea of, hey, how important is the artillery compared to routed brigades? What about specifically routed units which came under fire? Like, if the rest of the brigade routes, that may not be as big a deal as damaged units routing and stuff like that. Like, a fresh brigade could rout when just one unit engages or something. So to me, it feels like there's some sort of calculation that could be provided to give you a way of tracking what the losses the different armies had, because and then any possibility of pursuits or dissolution of the army, just stuff like that. Because all I'm left with is this idea of, well, army withdraws, it's probably in pretty good shape still. Army routes, it probably is in worse shape, and it just doesn't seem like, and army routes, because Oberglau fell on the last turn of the game, that almost feels like a withdrawal to me. Like, it doesn't seem a whole lot less. Anyway, enough babbling. Let's roll some dice and we'll see what happens. But these are going to be long-range fires from here. Now, luckily for me, I can fire all the way over here, and I can fire all the way over here. Wait, do villages block? I think so. Yeah, villages block. So I can't hit these guys. I'll have to check this one. So this is the hex spine. This guy's not going to be able to fire at this. This guy, I can rotate facing of the guns though. So maybe I'll get a shot in on something over there if I'm lucky or something. I don't know. Or really unlucky is probably more the likelihood. So yeah, I probably want to do that rather than actually fire, because this guy could get a shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hexes out. First of all, that thing's probably going to be knocked off the board. 7 hexes out is max range. I need an 8 or a 9. It's just not going to do much to get the shot. So these guys are just going to rotate in the hopes that they can do something. I'll figure out. I got one more exposed gun. That'll fire. This guy, I don't know. You know, he's sitting underneath. He's screened by a unit that's too close for him to fire, so he simply can't, as far as I'm concerned. But I might as well leave him there, see whether or not he gets a shot next turn. For commitment, well, for the most part, the French have nothing they can do. They just have no reserves anywhere. This unit, who the hell cares? You know, I should have rolled to see if it can get to the front. No? Yeah, might as well. I didn't bother. It's 2, 3, something like that. Yeah, it actually would have. So we'll give him a marker to get to the front. He's going to get chased off the board before he gets a chance to do anything, though. For the Allies, things were a little bit more exciting. Still got this guy trying to move. Oh, the French did move the Ennenville brigade to the front. That's important. That's going to cover over here to the right of Belle Isle. It doesn't really, it's not a matter of covering. I'm hoping to just bust up that entire line. I'm pretty sure neither side can lose that wing, though. I did try to move this cav here. Something B. Brockendorf or something like that. Over as a backup over here, with the idea that, you know, hey, if I had moved him into this wing, I'd be fine. With the idea that if I do charge with these guys, I would have a backup, and so if things fail miserably, I still survive the battle, which probably means I try to avoid doing that. I didn't try to move one from here. Instead, I committed Rantzau. You could make an argument that in terms of winning the game, it would be better for me to have committed wood, but to have transferred wood over to be back here, especially after I learned that I failed. But honestly, this just feels more appropriate. I want to get this in here to fight, and I put good old Churchill back in charge of this unit to try to get him killed or something. I don't know. That's going to get me to the brigade activation. I'm going to put these here. I'm a little breathless still. I don't know. And fatigued. Why do people get up in the daytime? I don't know. Again, I do feel better getting up in the day, but my battery's almost dead, and I feel like I got nothing done, but I wanna break. I think I had a couple hours of nappish behavior. I definitely feel more rested. A little punch drunk, I always do. I took some time, I ate and whatever. Naps fuck me up. Sleeping fucks me up. Okay, so we're on the charges. The Allies have more units under charge orders. There's only one place. This is painful. where a French unit has charge orders, well, entirely, and what can it compete with is the question the Allies have to ask. So this is the kind of analysis that I have to make, but I have to make it across all the units normally. But here, I don't. I only have to worry about Broil. He's the only thing that could go before me, and that's lined up here. And what's it facing? It's facing Ratson. I can't do anything about him. It's facing d'Herbeville, sort of. Something could be done there. This is a problematic situation. This unit is not under charge if d'Herbeville activates. And if d'Herbeville continues his charge, he's got to hit these fucking cav. One unit can hit the Belle-Île. Actually, this unit can hit that from behind. So yeah, I think I want to activate them because, so he does not have an infantry in his front, so he gets to go to secondary hexes and whatnot, which means he gets to pivot and attack drill from here. This unit has to connect up with the line, so we're going to see d'Herbeville kind of try to form a line of some sort. The only means I had of connecting the whole thing up, this is facing this way, this is charging this way, this is charging this way, is for this guy to march around and he's facing that way. Again, does not look like linear formation at all, but in the chaos of battle, the formations would fall apart to some extent, right? And you would get clusters fighting like this. So a game that couldn't represent that would actually be problematic. So even though the rules are difficult to sort of to apply the way they're stated, they are giving me appropriate situations. I know it doesn't look linear, but it also, you would still end up with fighting masses sometimes. It's not what the army is trying to do, but you know, the effect is there. You're just under great limitations as to how they can actually be formed. I don't know if I screwed up. I don't know if I could have, must have attacked this. I can't attack across the stream, so I don't chase the cav away there. Here I bounced off, but here I killed the Broil unit with a lucky 0. We had a couple of attacks on the +2 table, both the infantry attacks. Oh no, here. Which are good attacks, but they're not guaranteed to be good. In this case, it resulted in an attack or retreat, actually to here. In this case, it resulted in a defender eliminated result, which ended up, because Broil is a tiny little brigade, only 3 units, total morale 5, ended up routing it, and it's all represented by that route piece. So that is, forget this. Let's roll for him. It wouldn't have made a difference. I checked the charts. Both hits would have been the same. He's not dead. You'd think I'd notice him when I have to flip, but somehow I neglect flipping. And then when I double check back, I see it. That means all the rest of the charges are still allied because Broil was the only unit under that. I'll come back at some point within that sequence. Okay, it's beginning to look pretty ugly down here in the Lutzingen sector. Fink chased the cav off the map as expected, but they were also able to turn and hit Mercy, and he's crying for mercy right now. He ran out of the village. Now, the problem, of course, is Blinken, or whatever, is, or Bilke, is unable to hit that unit now, but he can turn and get a couple of hits on this one. Mercy might be gone, but there's still one more brigade left over there. Bilke was only able to get 2 attacks in place, one against this, got into a firefight situation. That's the best thing the French can hope for, in a sense. Locks things down, means we'll, you know, probably be there. First of all, Bilke cannot disengage and hit him again. So this is gone. That's the biggie. Other units can hit this, however. Notably the cav that's here Yeah, I think can, because there will be an open flank somewhere. The others, one of them was able to hit Mercy, and it bounced off. Not at good odds, attacking in the village. But with 2 brigades hitting him, I don't know. He'll probably dissolve. The thing is, he probably, Turva probably won't. But I'm going to take my shots at him anyway. Anyway, that's that section. We got a whole bunch of units under charge, honestly. Ebendorf continued their charge, bounced off here, got locked in the second firefight. Okay, we're not gonna be able to be doing the damage to Claire that we need to. This unit could come in and hit them again. It's not great odds, but you know. Webb hits Claire here. When I hear those, I'm always worried it's my tea going over, and I'm like having to try to remember, do I have a tea kettle on or whatever? Here he got locked into a firefight. Here he marched in, fired his brigade guns in there, and ended up getting a 1 DR result. That's the end of that unit, sort of, not necessarily. So that unit's going to be taking a casualty. I haven't grabbed it yet. I'll grab it, but I'm not going to put it under quite yet. That doesn't destroy him, so he loses his depth marker. The reason I'm not putting it in place is that unit may be gone. Okay, so now we have to do the stand in place. Now, how big was this unit? This unit should have been a 3. So we get a -3 on here. Anything over a 4 destroys him. And that will wreck him. So he's going to come routing, I guess, out that way, because he couldn't retreat in the direction he wanted to retreat. And that causes a route check. We go and find Claire. There's only 3 units to Claire, but he's a decent morale of 6. I mean, this is the game on the line here, right? There is one more chance to hit those units, perhaps. And that 6 will not destroy the brigade yet. Claire, I think, has to back up. They're underdress ranks. I think they have to fall back and get out of those orders. That's going to mix them into this shit. Webb is here watching the routers go by. One of his units fully prepped and ready to fight. This guy did not launch his first fire because he didn't get hit from the front. We still got another unit that could get him up here. But again, risky. Don't know if I want to do it. What's his morale? His morale is good. It's an 8. So, might be worth taking a couple lucky swings at him. I don't know. Yeah. So note, though, that Webb's brigade has been completely split into pieces now, which means it won't be able to do a charge order unless something changes. Seckendorf is next. Now, I moved him already, and you're going to say, wait, what about Nayeli? Yeah, he's a problem, but as long as I stayed under charge orders, and nothing prohibits me from doing so, I can't do anything to fix his problem. And he can't do anything to fix his problem because his problem is that he belongs between Webb and Seckendorf, and he can't find a between. I don't think he can squeeze in here and do anything of any importance, and he'd get disordered anyway. So he's just going to get stuck back there, unable to advance to the line. There's no room that's been made for him. Seckendorf would have to make room if he could. He couldn't. Not if he stays under charge orders, and I don't think anything requires that you change orders. There are things that require that you don't try to go into charge. One of the Seckendorf units got locked into firefight. The other one got a good roll. Unfortunately, that wasn't good enough. He got a 1 DR against this unit. So this unit took a hit first. It's still there. He had to take a hit. And he's not still there. Unless I fucked up. I have the feeling I fucked up. I think he actually is still there. I had a 2-hit. He was a 3-point unit. Yeah, he is still there. So he goes to a 3-hit. I just have trouble with, I've regularly had trouble with this, along with some of the other issues, with the numerical issue. So the number of casualties you can take and survive is equal to the number on your counter, which means this firefight actually is broken, and this guy retreats. And that's what we have. Good thing I didn't succeed in the route check, because I probably would have pulled all of Seckendorf off the board. But looking at it, I realized, wait a minute, that was a 2-hit on a 3-point unit. So, yeah. Wilke here also continued his charge. This unit was routed due to a 1AR, I think. And this unit got an AR and fell back. Then I checked for the route. I got a 7, which is enough to rout him, which means Wilke is going to disappear from that side of things and create some possible problems over here. But this wing, the French are pretty safe on at this point. That's the effect of units having been in the line too long and not taking time to dress ranks, and now we're pressing a little harder and things are just beginning to dissolve. That's going to put it to the move order units of the French. Do they have any? Yeah, they have a couple. Trying to decide what I want to do. Part of me says go outside and tackle my hill a little bit more, cutting some of the grass on it. You know, I mean, if it was like flat terrain, it would be absolutely not difficult at all. The reason that like it strains me is that it's this steep hill that I have to like try to get at, and I've got a number of different tools to do it. Right now I'm using a weed whacker, but the footing is not really level, right? First of all, it's at a slant. Okay, you got to be a mountain goat to do that. Part of one of the reasons I hurt my ankles, I think. But I've been embedding, or I've been throwing down a bunch of mulch type crap, basically stuff that comes off my roof mainly, and trying to build up, what are they? Not stairs. You don't remember the term for it. What they do on like the Sicilian vineyards and whatnot, where they have to use almost a step situation for. But I don't remember what the term is for it. Yeah. I'm getting stupid. I really am. Like, it's got to be old age. I've always, it's hard to reach for words sometimes. Like throughout, my whole life, there's been times where I couldn't hit something, but they're just getting more and more common now. It's like that brain is just rotting in here, along with everything else in my body. All right. Enough of that fun. I think I'm going to try doing that. Like the other option is, I could play a little bit of that, or there's one more that's really was attractive, which is make myself a nice vodka milkshake and sit out on the porch and read or listen to music or something with a Maduro, but feels a little early in the day for that. That's actually a problem. Raid happens, like the raid day changeover happens at the time I want to be out. I want to sit outside and just kind of mellow. That's farming, not steps. For me not to have a word like that easily available is very troubling. I was outside doing some, or at least cutting the, murdering the weeds, or trying to. Fucking blackberries are resilient as hell. But, I'm too pooped right now to get back to playing the game. I'm gonna wipe my face off and get to sitting in front of the computer again. Just because that's about the only thing I can do after I do like a physical effort. I have, the idea of like sitting out and enjoying, the day outside or part of it, cigar and drink or whatever, that seems almost anathema at this point, right? Like that's too much energy. That's standard for me. Like I'm in no mood. I'm in a mood to relax, but not in that particular way. It's edging up on 3 o'clock now, and not only did I do the extra yard work, but I did end up, after relaxing a little bit, sitting out, having myself a nice drink and a cigar. Let's play a little of this while I wait for Crusader Kings to load up. And that's what I really kind of want to relax and do, but I couldn't stand just watching videos online. I'll say this, it feels a lot better to have done a couple of things, even if one of them was just relaxing and reading, outside my norm. Now, it did not feel good to go for those walks in the same way, but on the other hand, I didn't get anything accomplished on the walks, right? I mean, I got my key cut, right? And I deposited a check. But getting the yard work done, it's something I can see. And it's something that needs to be done. And I don't know. So we had a little bit of piddling moving up here. St. Paul coming across the line here. And then Ligny here destroyed Seckendorf. Used our first fire up, but yeah, we rounded a couple of units. Dink dink. And it's not going to make a difference. There's not enough time to win that sector, except that it might just take some pressure off Clare there. Attempted a fruitless charge against Montmorency here. Wasn't going to accomplish much, but he's got an unprotected flank now, even if that unprotected flank is, behind the lines, essentially. Annenville here charged. I gotta do something, get my game loaded, whatever, in order to attack the artillery. Again, I don't know what the restrictions on attacking artillery are. Do you need to charge them? Feels like you would have to. Feels like you would have to give, be under orders to push over that unit. But again, it's such a low threat obstacle that maybe it shouldn't be required. I was legal in my movements. Oh well, I was legal on everything because I'm doing a charge, right? But these units couldn't contact Hesse Homburg, which would have been even more advantageous. I would have just pushed them back, but if I did it in the right order, I think no matter what order, they could retreat into these 2 hexes. So, it would just be a shoving match more than anything else. The cav doesn't really get impacted by it. And, of course, the disadvantage of that, what is it? None. They're under charge orders. So they're not going to recover any time and be able to cause us any difficulty. Wittenkopf over here. He's way back in the rear. He could throw himself into charge and hit our flanks. Okay. Whatever. So, looks like all the French march orders are done. The Allies have quite a few left. Over on the Crusader King side, oh, it threw me like a database error. It asked me to see if I could access some file. A SQLite file or something. And while I was trying to do that, I just restarted and now it seems to not be throwing it, so I don't know, maybe I clicked too many times or something. Continue repositioning units. I made the decision I'm going to try to charge with this because on any given turn I could easily fail a charge. And I did. So absolutely nothing happened. This is, I think, the only way I can win the battle. But it's also probably the only way I can lose the battle, too. And everything's starting up just fine over there as far as I can tell. That throws us to the French dress ranks orders. And yeah. Fuck. See, this works easier with tweezers, but I can't do the tweezers with my left hand. I can't hold the camera with my left hand. Fiddled around with some stuff. I mean, like Bibli here or whatever. Bibra. There's just nothing that Cav can do to the infantry. There is absolutely nothing. So, you know, I'm just basically passing. I did turn into place. Moved a couple of other things, but Claire pulled back. Now this is, to me, a controversial decision, or one that's not clear. Claire was exposed with its ass in the air to web here, but it's exposed here to a web with its ass in the air too. Got me out of the firefights, which means these guys can hit me, something they couldn't do before. So it's like, yeah, am I actually increasing or decreasing my chances of routing? I don't know. I certainly wasn't absolutely safe next turn, and I'm still not. Leslie here got into a charge, and not this guy. He couldn't charge. I don't know if he's in move or not. It doesn't really matter. I charged against this flank here, got bounced back. These two units were coming across the stream at this guy. They both hit him. One bounced off, one knocked him back with some damage. So, you know, I don't know what to call that. I did damage to an infantry that's more significant than damage to Cav. I guess, I don't know. I mean, both can be recovered in dress ranks, so I don't know. Row here launched some final attacks, not really effective. A couple of firefights and bouncing off. Il launched a flanking attack on the Hurlville or whatever and managed to destroy itself. All fell back into that space. Both sides have some units in dress ranks still. Allies, some of this Cav. Natsmer could attack this. Why not? We'll see if we can get away with it. I was thinking I'll just go to passing to the end of the turn. This isn't going to win the game. It's not going to end anything, but it could add a little bit to the story, right? It doesn't. And the only things remaining are the French line, but I actually have some recovery. Not there, but here to do. So we'll do that one. But I think that's the end of the line. And that just recovers one of the three hits, only two of which count, and the counter says 2 and 3 on it. And, it's just annoying to me. I think that's it. I really do. And yeah, music's playing, game's not started yet. I think I'll just go to the cleanup side of things because there's nothing else that really wants to do anything. The French infantry line here is available, and the Allied Cav line that's facing it that can't do shit against it. Let me just make sure is there. Yeah, he got orders. It's really just Curiel, just him. And then I got things like Orange. Okay, you know, I can move forward a space. Great, but it's not going to do a damn thing, so screw it. Okay. That's going to put us on the last turn of the game. What do we got? I mean, the Allies have punched through here pretty heavily. I just don't think they have enough oomph in the time remaining to break 2 brigades. Over here, deadlock. Over here, we'll skip that. That's the interesting place, right? Over here, the Allies finally managed to push the French forward, back. But again, there's just not enough time to take advantage of it. of the fact that I have greater numbers, and that is well more established than over here. This central area, it's too chaotic to call anything out of it, but there's just not enough time again to finish anything off. The chaos is not resolving itself, as shown with this. And we get over to Oberglau, and good God, what do I do? I don't know where the line is. I would say it's probably here now, which means I could maybe get one hex attack, which, you know, is all I could do. Anyway, so these guys have probably kicked themselves out of the situation with Claire's withdrawal anyway. But Webb has like a disconnected unit that's not going to be able to attack. Actually, it's all disconnected. It's not going to be able to charge at all. So if he's under charge, he is under charge. He's going to have to go first. He can actually hit these and break them. And that's really the decision point of the game, unless something else gets into this sector. I think the chances of that happening are pretty low. If I was just interested in competitive play or whatever, if I was playing this opposed, what we might say is, hey, let's just focus on this, do a couple of die rolls, see what happens, and then call it from there. And it wouldn't be an unreasonable thing to do. I'm going to play the whole turn out because that's just, you know, what I do solo. I am, in a lot of ways, I'm more interested in the game as a whole in terms of what is the story that it provides across the whole thing and experiencing it and watching it happen than I am in, hey, what was the final result? Who won? Who won? I was always, I remember, I think my past wife to some extent, but also my first wife, when I would come home from gaming, there would often be this question of, well, who won? And I'd be kind of like, well, I don't really care, you know? Because it's true. Even in, you know, when I'm playing opposed, it's not like I'm not trying to win. It's just, that's not the most interesting thing to me. The interesting thing to me is what happened. And that was never the question that was asked, which I find kind of odd. I don't know why, you know, because in both cases, these are women that I brought into gaming. And maybe they just saw how competitive I am playing one-on-one against, you know, them or something. I don't know. I do seem much more competitive in the actual play than in my external view of it. And I have to say, when I do sports or something, like I used to play tennis, I used to shoot darts apparently very well. But you know, I throw myself very heavily into the game. I don't know. At least mentally. Physically, not so much. Like I remember, like in tennis, I would quite often you know, I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to go get that. And part, you know, in terms of like a shot that was, I don't want to try for it. But part of it was, I'm reserving my energy, right? I'm just not going to go for something. And it's funny, I just like, but at least on my serves, I felt very, very competitive, and would throw a lot of myself into those. And some of the times they were pretty good. Some of the times, most of the time, they would miss the mark and not be in. But when they were in, they were quite often, you know, unhittable by the level of player that I was playing. In fact, I played against somebody for high school tryouts or whatever, who is one of the better tennis players I'd ever seen, you know. Yeah, I mean, not professional level, but he was about as close in our county or whatever as you got. He was one of the top players in the county, and yeah, I managed to get a couple of aces on him. So my serve was decent when it was good. Of course, his was much more consistent, and he just constantly was putting them where, yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I can't do anything with this. All right, we'll put this aside and go play a little CK and whatever else I have to do. Pretty soon it's going to be raid time. I hold my dumps off for raid time because I can take them while it's playing itself. About 4 o'clock, I've got an hour until raid. And I'm just not feeling it with Crusader Kings. I don't know why. Probably because I did things today. But added to, I haven't gotten beaten in a war, and it's just like, now I feel like I'm having to go through the same stuff again. I don't know what I want. It gives a nice historical picture of things, but it's only giving it from the point of view of one person. If that person, if my ruler at any given time isn't doing terribly well, it's kind of depressing in a way that, when I play, Empires of the Middle Ages solo, doesn't feel that way because I'm playing all the major players. I'm playing all the players in it essentially, and that way I get to see that tapestry unfold. I don't really get to see the whole tapestry. All I get to see is my little nation, and I want it to become great. I want the game to be, I guess, a little easier than it is, but thereby less historical. I remember with the original Crusader Kings, I had gotten to the point where it was it had gotten too easy, right? I had figured out, how to sort of cheat the game, not by cheating, but by using the marriage system primarily, but also the wars and whatnot to just, and I ended up with this dominating empire and translated that over to EU because there was a tool that allowed you to move them. And boy, was that boring. But, it was kind of fun building all that up, right? It just wasn't, I don't know. I don't know what I expect. The storytelling version or the storytelling nature of Crusader Kings 3 makes it made it more of a hook, but now it's just the same stories being recycled. It's not as rich a background. Now, I'm sure if you buy all the DLCs, you get more story, but it's kind of yeah, but it's still going to be limited. I don't know. It was the same thing I had with King of Dragon Pass or whatever, which is that, yeah, you play it for a while and then it's just kind of, eh. And had I played it for, a full weekend, had I gotten the full free weekend, I probably would have made the decision I made last time, which was, yeah, it's just, I had fun, but it's not worth buying. And I kind of think I'm probably going to just, dwindle away from it. We'll see. Doesn't matter. It wasn't, it wasn't that expensive, right? I spend more by far going out every week. So, all right. Artillery. Well, there ain't much left. We still just have these two guns. There's a gun under here, but they can't fire. I'll try to, I guess, open up here. I'm trying to see. I think one of the guns can definitely hit this space, which is of some use. This is pretty useless. I'm questioning whether both of them could hit that, but I'll make that choice. I may not have to make that choice, right? Yeah, the hex spine goes up this way, so I was able to get both into there. I can't fire over the village, but I can fire over my own units. So far, nobody's done anything except Ross is being turned around and sent up here. I don't think that does anything because I don't really think I can. I can't attack because I can't cross this. There's no causeway there. Before I could attack across it, however stupid that is, but he's not doing me any good back here either, so that's fine. But now I come to Talard, the commander-in-chief, and I got some interesting options. So I could send Montreux over into Obergau, and I think that's my best way of ensuring I do not get routed, is I put him back here. Now the problem with that, of course, is I got Bligny, who's kind of extended things, and I should really have something to indicate that. He's extended his sector into there, but I think there's still room for Montreux to slide in and get into here. I could, of course, mutate stuff a little bit to give a little bit more bulge there. So that seems reasonable. So I think that's what I'm going to try. The chances are not good at all. I need a 1 to do it. I would have a better chance to throw him into the line. That's what I would do if I was actually fighting a battle in general. But like if I was in command in most normal circumstances, I wouldn't worry about the fact that, hey, I got a little gap. Because the little gap here isn't any worse than some of the gaps that have occurred in other areas of the battlefield, right? But given the victory conditions, I feel like I have to send him over there. And of course I don't succeed. So I had a few remaining changes. Erbach here is pushing into place here. Now it's kind of funny because this Widdinghoff, he's back in the reserve. And he's kind of close to the enemy, close enough that he actually could charge. What that's going to mean, I don't know. He might end up launching an attack from the reserve, whatever that means. But he's pushed forward here. Elsewhere, I wasn't able to get that right. Over here, I'm moving St. Sigmund up, but St. Paul was unable to move forward, was unable to devote himself to the front line, which means we're probably not going to get any engagement there. None of it really makes a damn bit of difference in terms of winning the game. It's all coming down to what happens over here on Planet Claire. I attempted to rally Hesse-Homburg, didn't get it, and then Emmenville charged them. They were in charge already, and get sort of a freebie destruction on Cav. Just firing my first fires, I'm able to wreck disordered Cav and send it flying on its way. Earleville made an undesired and unwise attack, continuing their charge. I couldn't get them into dress ranks. These guys pushed a Cav back. I wasn't able to shift him into position or anything, so I've got this stupid line here. This guy charged forward, or actually launched into an attack on Emmenville. It didn't do shit. It got me a firefight, which is probably better than I could expect, given that I was on the -1 table or whatever. Webb here is an interesting case. I was unable to get out of charge command. I wanted to get into dress ranks. Why? You know, I'm about to win the game, right? No, I can't charge with any of these. So that means I have to get my stuff together. Now, I could move 2, 3, 4, like I could, you know, get my rear in place on him. I think I'm better off doing this. 1, 2, 3 like this. And him 2, 3, 4. Sure, I got a rear exposed, but I feel like I've got something more like a command in place. Does this fuck up with Noyelle, though? That's the problem. Noyelle's in the front line, but because the line is kind of curving, I don't know. And here's the thing. The French have extended this here. The Allies have extended it out here. And in fact, it was all the way out, but now I'm falling back. Whatever that means. As the last French charger, let's see if the Allies can do anything with what they've got here. They've got some charging here too, which can't do a damn thing, so I don't know. Okay, for two of these guys here, Fink tried to kill himself with an attack here. He lost the unit and it ran back. In fact, these attacks are all low odds, and it didn't destroy Fink. He's a nice big unit. Good thing, right? And then Bielke also tried attacking here and here, and they were pushed back in both cases. Running out of things. I got this. I got this that can still attack. I guess I should just do that, right? See if it's over. Attempt to decide this with Bebendorf, was relatively effective, but not sufficient. Hit here, pushed him back. Hit here, pushed him back. Casualties being exchanged. Now, I had depth units here, so I didn't take actual casualties. I took depth. And I hit here in the flank. You'd think it would be good, but it wasn't a terribly good result. Or terribly good odds table. And I ended up with a firefight out of it. It was like the 0 table, even though I'm hitting him in the flank. The village is very protective. That's it in terms of winning the game as far as I'm concerned. Let's see what the last few fights bring out, because, again, why did, part of me's like, yeah, well, it's over, man, it's over. I know, Bayreuth managed to push Montmercy. Is it actually Montmercy or Montmorency? Back a space, and, okay. Did hits to it even, I think. But it's not enough. I just cheated. I thought this was a charge. It's address ranks. Let's get these guys back. Okay. The final charge was Rowe. He bounced off. And that is probably all she wrote. It's all the charge items, but the thing is, there's still some possibility of interesting stuff happening by units that are switching formation. You could say, well, right, you say, well, if they're in movement or they're in, dress ranks, they're not going to do anything, right? Yeah, no, not quite. They could still change their orders and cause something of interest to happen. And that's all we're doing this for, is to see what of interest can happen. Thought I had an attack with Erbach, but in both cases he's got support from behind in the lines, so I can't actually go into a charge there. Or I can't actually charge. I think I'm just not allowed to go into charge if I don't have an eligible target. So, anyway, I triggered him, whatever. I think my last viable unit that could do anything violent was this. It could charge into here, hitting the flank. It failed its attempt to get a charge there. Given that it was going from the reserve, it actually couldn't, could it? No, March charge, yeah, it's really bad. Even with Marlborough there. I think this is our final lines, to tell you the truth. Claire's in dress ranks. Yeah, that thing's stuck. This thing will recover. Oh, he stole his artillery hit, I think. I don't know. Maybe that was a damage. I think it's a damage that I put an artillery hit. I think this is the end of the line. I don't think that there's any other units that can do anything of value. I'm looking down the line here. This cav, it can't hit any of these. So Bilba could hit this. That's a dress ranks unit. I don't see much value to it. I don't see playing out the rest of the actions to get to that. So this is the end of the battle. The French definitely were on the ropes at the very end, to the extent that, like, if there was a little bit more daylight, Oberglau probably would have broken. But we got what's starting to look like a better English line here and everything, but what ends up just happening is the armies withdraw, the French end up pulling out of the area because clearly they were losing the battle, but they still have a functioning, non-routed army in the field. And that's a better situation than the historical. So that gives them some kind of minor victory. In comparison, they were heavily outnumbered and yet still managed to hold off and actually managed to push the Allied forces a few times. Anything else to say? Overall, this was a lot more exciting than the Neerwinden battle was. I like the little changes I made. I mean, obviously there might changes. No, not obviously. Sometimes I don't like doing stuff. I don't think I would have liked trying to handle in-hex positioning for every unit. I think that would have gotten really annoying for whatever reasons. I feel a little bit more comfortable with the system, I feel a little bit more comfortable with identifying which units are cav and which are infantry. You saw I didn't make any mistakes recently, or I didn't catch myself making any. But I think that has more to do with memorizing what the units are than being able to assess by the visual on either side of things. This was an exciting battle. It felt like it was on a knife's edge at several moments. And, you know, as the battle developed, it really got much more swingy and much more exciting. This is not a game, neither of the battles is a game in which, you know, I feel like the person who far and away, you know, has superior tactical understanding or whatever, is going to get a real advantage out of it. This is not a very competitive system. And that's cool with me. I feel like Musket and Pike, SPQR, definitely give more opportunities for competitive play. Sure, there are places where you can optimize and improve your chances, but there's a lot of luck in it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, you know, but tends to be something that competitive players don't like too much of. And there's not a lot of room to make a lot of like impactful decisions. You're basically just shifting your forces and hoping you get a lucky die roll or whatever. Now, obviously, look, you could certainly misplay and make huge errors. There's no question of that. Of course, there's no way you can play competitively simply because, you know, you're having to, if you have to make up rules and whatnot in it, that's just not conducive to competitive play at all. But I think the system is not one that lends itself to that flavor. On the other hand, in terms of storyline and whatnot, I felt like Blenheim gave me a really nice picture of some exciting warfare. Maybe I was cheating. In order to get that, I got certainly a lot more chaos than you'd expect in linear warfare in this particular battle. I see some promise for the system, some hope, but again, I'm just left with the feeling that like the rules don't quite work, right? Like they don't. First of all, what I've got doesn't cover everything that you need. Like maybe the rewrite, okay, but in terms of covering all the questions I have, the missing rule isn't enough. It feels like that rewrite has to be pretty damn significant to cover everything. However, even with the flawed rules that there are, I can have fun with this. Neerwinden was a little bit more too static for my taste. This one felt like a much more opened up battle that some interesting stuff could really happen. And I think most of that is because this sector is so wide and you have enough flexibility. Sure, you still have to follow the linear designations, but you have a lot of more opportunity to pump units into different places because you can throw something from the support line into different locations in here. And that's one of the things. When you have lots of small wings, the wing boundaries, even if you're very loose with them, like I am being, and using stuff like this, the wing boundaries end up causing you with more difficulty in terms of deploying your forces with any flexibility at all. I would kind of favor seeing something that said there were like 3 wings to the battle. I don't know, because I don't know, I don't know what the historical commanders represent. Were there really 5 historical separate commands on the field? Or is it more, that's what the terrain kind of branches things out to, and people kind of inherited separate commands just because of how the terrain formed itself historically as the battle progressed? I really don't think that both armies had 5 commanders on the field who had, really, really separate, segmented duties. And I would much rather see something that allowed more flexibility, because I feel like what got really exciting here was the flexible nature of being able to deploy things a little bit more freely. I don't know. Anyway, let's send this up. I'll have a review of this at some point. I don't know when. And then we'll move on to something, if anything, maybe more painful, and less exciting. Like, I don't have good memories of this game. However, I had high hopes for it.